thanks for joining us again this week on Agenda 2030. I hope your week has been great. I am Toyin Kamiang John. Key among the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals is the issue of poverty eradication. With the clear interlinkages of the goals and cross-cutting effects of poverty, it is believed that with a significant decimation in the level of poverty and its general effects, a huge progress would have been made in efforts to achieve the 2030 agenda in Nigeria. In demonstration of her commitment to drive the country along this path, the Nigerian government has been making huge financial investments aimed at tackling poverty and engendering wider socio-economic inclusion through its National Social Investment Program (NSIP) in the past 3 years. The NSIP's office, domiciled in the Office of the Vice President, is being effectively coordinated by a special advisor to the President, Mariam Uwais. The 4 cardinal programs being implemented under the National Social Investment Program are the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, the NPower Program, the National Conditional Cash Transfer Program, NCTP, and the Market Money Program, also known as JEEP, which is targeted at supporting about 1,666,000 micro, small, and medium enterprises in Nigeria. On today's episode of Agenda 2030, we will be bringing to you the extensive interview our team had with the presidential advisor on how the NSIP is contributing to alleviation of poverty and social inclusion in Nigeria. We will bring you the full interview and more after the short break. Do stay with us.
Nigeria will continue to support the United Nations in all its efforts, including the attainment of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I thank you.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want. With everyone on board, we focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the global development agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations, and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
Welcome back. As you know, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/FreshNewsTV and youtube.com/Agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Just log on to www.facebook.com/FreshNewsNG and www.facebook.com/Agenda 2030 TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 and hashtag Agenda 2030 TV. We now bring you the interview with the Special Advisor to the President on National Social Investment Program, Mariam Uwais. Do enjoy it.
Okay, what would you say inform the National Social Investment Program as a strategic tool by the government to eradicate poverty? And what has been the experiences since you came on board?
Well, I would say that the mandate, one of the objectives of the APC administration was to alleviate poverty, and the issue of cash transfers and unemployment was vividly in the manifesto. So this was the initial reason why this started. But interestingly, when we were invited to come and work on this program, we were told that this isn't about just APC, it's about every Nigerian. So because poverty knows no political party, it knows no class, no culture, no religion, so we need to ensure that we go around the entire country to make an impact on poverty. But, reality is we have according to statistics, over 18 million Nigerians that are living below the poverty line. So the amount of money that is required is beyond the entire budget. So we had to set up structures that would ensure that we target the poorest first, the very poorest, and then gradually grow and try and see, measure, evaluate. So we needed to set up structures from the very beginning on how to target the audience, how to ensure that the states buy in, because the states is where the citizens reside. And beyond that, the constitutional mandate for education, for agriculture, for health is actually in the states. But clearly where the narrative is Nigerian, 10.6 Nigerian children are out of school, the federal government has to intervene. Yeah, it has to intervene. It's concerned. So we had to find a way of working with the states to ensure that they buy into what we're doing. So 4 programs were devised or structured. There's the Empower program, essentially to reduce poverty, to reduce unemployment, but also to address some of the gaps that exist in the states. So we set up a program that would address teaching, so teaching assistants using our youth who are actually out of jobs, or they've never got any job, they're unemployed. Agricultural extension workers, because we need a lot of visibility there. We need people working and supporting our farmers, while many of whom are illiterate, and all the emerging issues that support farming they're not aware of. And then we have the issues of trying to help our health centers, support our health centers, even the issue of sanitation, of environment, of hygiene. The country is so vast. In fact, we don't have an extensive ID system, so we are able to plan properly. So we needed to look at social inclusion and how to get their IDs of our people and put them on the map so they become visible. So it was a huge task we were given, and we realized that we needed to start small, create clear structures that would also enable people buy into it, not just the public, but also the critical actors, because we're now doing work that maybe impacts on the Federal Ministry of Education, the Federal Ministry of Health. How do we get them to support what we're doing? And because all of these matters, like school feeding is something that impacts on not just enrollment, but also the nutrition of the child. So it's Ministry of Health. It's also supporting the farmers who are growing the food, the menu that each state has devised. Every state decides what their own food is. We just bring in people from the Ministry of Health and IITA to support them in ensuring that the nutritional content is sufficient for the child. But the food has to be accessible and affordable. So that also is agriculture. We're paying the women to cook for these children. So that is empowerment for the women. So you see, there's women affairs, there's education, there's health, there's agriculture. All of these, if these programs were put in one ministry, then there may be a problem of getting them to work together. So the government in its wisdom said, let's put this office under the office of the Vice President, and then all of these ministries will now serve as a steering committee for what we're doing. So we go to them and regularly update them, get their advice on what we're doing. Anything that comes up, they guide us. This steering committee is chaired by the Vice President. We also have a technical working group, like a technical group of experts. So people in the Ministry of Labor, for instance, that used to do cash transfers are in that committee. 2 people from Ministry of Women and Affairs, 2 people from Finance, 2 people from Education. We sit here in this office and we ruminate over or reflect over what we're doing for their advice, because it has to be an inclusive effort. If it is not inclusive, then we run into trouble. So government, in its wisdom, said for the first time, let's put aside a huge chunk of money for the poor. these people have always been ignored. We talk about infrastructure, we talk about, the need for roads and bridges and health centers and schools. True, but some people are never able to access it because of their circumstances. And politicians tend to want to leave legacies, so they only recognize these structures. They want to build all of these structures to say this is what. But investing in our people,
human development,
is not visible. It's not something you can see in a day or two. So it's not something that is really something that captivates them. You understand? But this government in its wisdom said, look, we have to have people who understand, who are, equipped to understand why it's better to go to the health center than to go to faith-based organization for healing. And unless you build their capacity, they won't ever do that. We have to have people who understand, that it's better for their children to go to school than to work or to go to the farm, because that's the only way they will grow out of poverty. So I think a lot of thinking went through all of this, and this is why we exist, So that's the long-winded answer to your first question.
Okay, what would you say has been the impact? Has it been very, very impactful so far?
I believe so. I hear the Empower on social media. They're graduates, you see. Many of them are graduates. We have the non-graduate category. And interestingly, many graduates are applying to go to the non-graduate aspect of it. And they're into N-Build. They're doing work on how to build structures. And they're also working on automotive, on cars, design, how to work as mechanics. I've met a number of them who have said, I have a mechanical engineering degree, but what I have learned in my 3 months of training is 75% of practical knowledge.
Yeah.
You understand? So we have those who are on the social media, who are in the press, because they have access. Majority of our people are in remote areas. The media is not yet there. We're just trying to encourage them now to go into those places and talk to these people.
Yeah.
Because when we go, we hear the amazing stories of growth. It's interesting how 5,000 naira can make such a difference to their lives. Before we began, I went around to see cash transfers, and there's one that struck me in Zamfara State. And then I went to some of the villages there. It's a nutrition cash transfer. So once a woman is found to be pregnant, there's a small bathroom at the back, and she goes and she tests, and once she's confirmed pregnant, she's put on this 3,500 a month stipend. And on the day of payment, they also give her demonstration classes on how to preserve nutrients when cooking, what kinds of foods are nutritious. And it was amazing for me. That just gave me some comfort that, look, this 3,500, this woman, I spoke to the grievance people. First and foremost, I saw the children. They were running all over the place compared to children in villages where it wasn't happening. They were so much happier. The women, I interviewed them, were saying, that this has made a difference in their lives. There's a lot of farmer conflict, in Zamfara.
Yeah.
The men said they're not able to go to the farm, but these women somehow give them good meals, very interesting meals. And they said once in a while the women even dash them money. I asked the grievance man, are there cases where the men take the money from the women? And they said it happened once or twice initially, because the village head had been sensitized, he would call the men and counsel them. And they were saying that if not for this 3,500, and beyond that, at the end of 2 years is when the baby goes to be 2 years old, that the woman is taken off the program. The women would have saved from that 3,500 to buy a small goat, to buy a small spaghetti machine, you know. And I was thinking, how much do I even spend on recharge card?
Yeah.
You understand? So this 5,000, now that we've had a few radio programs where people have gone to those villages, and these women are talking about how their children are back in school, how their children are eating better, how they've even started small businesses with soya bean, they're doing weaving. Before they used to just sit down until people order, but now they can actually do and keep for people to come and buy groundnut oil. They do different things, you know. It's so interesting what they're able to do. So I think it's so easy for us from here in Abuja or in Lagos or in Port Harcourt to say 5,000 naira is too much. But if we actually have relatives in the villages, we know that if we give them 500 naira, we can see the happiness, you know, not to talk of 5,000 naira. There's a woman that was saying she hasn't had a bath for so long until she started receiving this, because now she can buy soda, you know. And she says she gives her husband a bath. Her husband is bedridden. She was able to do, you know, repair their house. Their house was just sticks, but now she's done some bit of mud, because it's not just the payment of the 5,000 naira. We train community facilitators in every ward.
Okay.
And these community facilitators visit these women every week. They advise them on savings, how to form savings groups, on how to, on financial skills. They train them on nutrition every week. So these women are watched carefully and their hands are held. So it's 5,000 naira plus. It's what we call it, cash plus. You know, we are not able to pay 5,000 every month, so we pay 10,000 every 2 months, which is
it's still equivalent to 5,000.
Yes, it's 5,000 naira a month. Yeah, but going there, because we've had challenges of paying at the last mile. There's no banking infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we have agents that we procured in a transparent manner, and they go to the villages and they pay them in the communities, because if somebody is bedridden or is ill or is physically challenged, the person can't travel to a town to collect 5,000 naira. By the time they travel, 2,000 naira would have been gone. So we insist that they must be paid in their communities, and this is what has been happening.
Okay, I was going to ask if you could possibly expatiate further on how the structure you have put in place to ensure that this will work perfectly.
So in which program?
Talking about
because I've
CCT.
been talking about CCT now.
Yes, because I know you do the targeting aspect of it, and there are a whole lot of program process that it passes through to ensure that the right people are targeted, not just selected people that may have been favored or duly favored by
you know, that's one of the challenges we had. There's been a culture of how cash transfers have been done in the past. People collect lists, and then it's not really the poorest. They may be poor, but they're not really the poorest, you know. So what we devised first and foremost was, due to constraint of funds, we knew that we couldn't cover the entire country with the money that we had. So we said, okay, we'll start with 30% of each state. So 30% of each senatorial district, right? And there's a poverty mapping that exists. So we looked at the local governments that are 30% poorest in each senatorial district for a balance. And we asked, first of all, we signed an MOU with the state so that everybody understands their role and their responsibility. That's a memorandum of understanding. And part of it is we will share the local governments that we want, we will first target. And we share that and come to an agreement. True, there are some politicians in the state who say, no, start from our local government, but we never agree. We always start with what is shown to us from Abuja, NBS, as the poverty mapping. Once they agree, the state has to set up an office, which we call the State Operating Coordinating Unit, in the Ministry of Planning. We insist on the Ministry of Planning because that is where the state register that we're developing should be placed.
Okay.
Because it is there that the state, we hope that the state will be able, will want to be able to plan with that information. And it's only in the Ministry of Planning that you can do that. So we ask for CVs from the state civil service of people who have the kind of skill that is necessary for targeting. So it's gender, it's surveys, it's statistics, it's advocacy, and those civil servants have to have been civil servants for at least 6 years, because we don't want anybody just posted there because government wants them, some politicians want them there. And you see, we're trying to build capacity within the state. So this is why we insist on state civil servants.
Yeah.
We also ask for the CVs of the people in the local governments. Then we hold a training for them. We have a manual that we call the Community-Based Targeting Manual. We train them on how to talk to the communities and get the kind of information that we require. We also work with NOA, the National Orientation Agency, because they have community mobilizing, community, COMOs is what they call them, community mobilizing officers at even the local government level and even some of the communities.
Yeah, I understand they have offices in 774 LG.
Yes. So we work with them, and then they go on, a few of them go and meet the community leaders in all the communities to say, look, give us a date that we can come. We want you to bring out all the people in the community. And we recognize that some people may not be comfortable, where maybe if the husband is there, the wife may not be able to speak out. So form them in groups. The women together, maybe the aged together, the youth together. Some say we want our faith-based leaders in one group, because our perspective is different, you understand? And then we go in on that date. Our teams go in and they ask them, what are the parameters for poverty as far as this community is concerned? Because if we say everybody below a poverty line, the numbers would overwhelm us. But in every community you have poor people. Our mandate is to go around the entire country, not to just go, because there are parts of this country that are poorer than others. You understand? So it doesn't mean that we won't go to those other. So in every community, it's a relative thing. So we ask them, what is poverty to you? And they come up with, oh, there's never firewood smoke coming out, or the children never go to school, they are always coming to us to beg for money or for food or whatever. Those children, they sleep outside because of, all kinds of stories. Okay, so which households in this community fall into these parameters? They decide. Once they let us know what those households are, we have a plenary and we discuss. Where the names of the households come out 3-4 times, yes, that household, yes. But where it's just once, we ask, what do you think of this household? Some will say, no. The man is just a miser. Doesn't believe in education. His children, he has children in the States who send him dollars every quarter, or he doesn't spend it on his family, So they shouldn't be on your list. Some will say, look, because we've had Boko Haram in our family, we've been stigmatized. The community doesn't acknowledge us. But we have the same problems that the community has identified. So we should be on this list.
Remember, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/Fresh News TV and youtube.com/Agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Just log on to www.facebook.com/Fresh News NG and www.facebook.com/Agenda 2030 TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 and hashtag Agenda 2030 TV. And that's our package. Thank you so much for being part of the program. I am Toyin Kamiang John. See you again next week. Bye.